And as an owner, like, man, like if you want to grow your company, like, good Lord, have guys come in here, that are spray techs and say they want to buy a house in a year and a half. And, you're going to make that happen. Like, that guy's going to have to move up. You're going to have to make sure there's a place for him to move up. And the amount of growth that, like, you're going to have to do, like, to push your company to make some of these goals and dreams achievable, like, that's kind of what started driving us, I think. Like, it was like, we want this revenue, right? Or we want this margin or this metric or hit this. But it's like, no, like, if this dude's going to buy a house, he's going to need to make this much money. And, like, I'm not just going to give it to him. So we've got to grow this much and we've got to do it this fast for, like, these guys' dreams to come true. And, like, that drives you. Like, that fires you up in the morning.
Thank you all so much for being here. So we have Branden and Lindsay from Fine Turf Lawn Care. Remind me, where are you guys based out of?
Charlotte, North Carolina.
Charlotte, North Carolina, that's right. But Lindsay, did you grow up in North Carolina?
I grew up in Augusta, Georgia, actually.
Okay.
Which, given time of the year, it's about to be pretty popular down there in a couple weeks. And then I moved to Charlotte about 9.5 years ago from Augusta. So.
Okay. What prompted you to move?
There's not much in Augusta. And then I worked for some lawn care companies here and, different stuff. And I never thought that I would make, the money that I wanted to, provide the lifestyle that I wanted working for other companies, and it bothered me. So I started one and, kind of had a goal to be able to pay our guys livable wages so that, they don't feel the same way I did. And that was 7 years ago today, actually.
Oh, congratulations.
That was when I quit my last job.
7 years ago today?
Today.
Wow.
That's awesome. Congratulations. I don't know that I know the date of the last day I quit my last job, but that's fantastic. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, it's a huge one. So, Branden, did you grow up in Florida?
Yeah, I grew up in Southwest Florida, about 2 hours south of Tampa.
Okay.
Basically lived there my whole life until after college. I moved to Vermont for a few years. That's when I just got started in the golf course industry. Just again, started as a weed guy doing a weed eater. Moved back to Florida. Kind of worked my way up in the golf course industry as assistant superintendent. Went back to school for online classes at Penn State for turf grass. Loved the career, loved the job, but I didn't love 60 to 80 hours a week, no weekends, low pay. And so I basically decided with my wife, at that time girlfriend, that I wanted to start a business, and we moved to Charlotte for that reason.
Did the 60 to 80 hours a week ever go away?
When I was working at the courses up north, it did in the wintertime. We were just cutting down trees and stuff. That was 40 hours a week. But in Florida, not really. It's either, your heavy plays in the winter and then called snowbirds, and then summertime's renovation, so it just never went away.
Yeah, that's awesome. What town in Southwest Florida did you grow up in?
No, I'm from Cape Coral, Fort Myers area, also about 45 minutes north of Naples.
Yeah, gotcha. We're actually going to be headed down to Fort Myers, that area here in a couple of weeks. We have a franchisee in that area, Gail, and I haven't explained this to you guys yet, and I don't want to get too into the weeds, but we're on a tour right now visiting all of our franchise locations throughout 2024 and 2025. But we're hosting events and trying to raise awareness of the pet waste removal industry through some more guerrilla marketing initiatives, some campaigns. And so anyways, like I was saying earlier,
we're going to be in Charlotte in
that's true.
month and a half, 2 months, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, late May.
On
We need to set something up. That's exactly what we're on the tour to do. Is when we're in these areas, we're meeting the people that we're creating relationships with, and we're helping our franchisees, serving our franchisees, and like Ben said, bringing awareness, really to the pet waste industry, but also our brands, our brands. But like Ben said, not to get too far into the weeds on that.
One of our goals is trying to create networking and meet new other business owners. So we're always open to whether it's you guys or maybe your franchisees that want to come in and talk to us and form a partnership, networking, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're about to sign a franchisee right there in Charlotte. He's an existing franchisee, lives here in Dallas, but he owns Phoenix and Las Vegas. But him and his partner are about to buy Charlotte and Raleigh Scoop Soldiers. So we've got our corporate operations there right now, but he's about to buy those clients, and then he'll be a franchisee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great market.
So-
Sorry about that. I got distracted for a second. Like Ben said, this is pretty free form. So, but my daughter was telling me that she'd just lost one of her teeth. So she was excited about that.
Was she asking for money?
She wasn't. That'll be tonight.
That's awesome.
But the pet waste business excites me a little bit because we actually own another business as well. It's called True Mosquito, where we do mosquito spraying. So it's a simple business model where it's one service. We're opening up our second and third branches this year. So that whole model, that one service, seeing how complicated lawn care can be, is pretty appealing.
So simple.
So this is a mosquito service you've started as a separate brand.
Yeah, we used to do it under the umbrella of Fine Turf, and then we have two other partners who also own lawn care companies that was doing mosquito under their, lawn care company. We basically split that off and started our own separate company for just that one service.
Nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's fantastic.
Can you say the name again?
It's True Mosquito.
True Mosquito. Okay, awesome.
That's awesome.
When did that happen?
It was last year.
We started Charlotte last year, and we're doing Augusta and Roanoke, Virginia this year.
Okay.
That's great.
That's
How many
awesome.
clients do you guys have?
Like 250, 300 in Charlotte, and about the same in Roanoke.
That's
And
great.
Augusta's just starting.
So how'd y'all pick those markets? Like, what had you choose those markets? Is it because of what your network and who you know in those areas?
Exactly.
Yeah, our other partners from the other lawn care company, they have a branch in Charlotte and Roanoke, so they were rolling those customers over. And obviously, we have the infrastructure in the shop there and everything. It's a lot easier to kind of get off the ground.
Right. Yeah, that's fantastic. Y'all got definitely more mosquito than we've got. We've been doing mosquito 5-7 years at Chorby, and I don't think we've broken 200. It's a piece of our pest control department. And it's just a small piece of that department. It's a cool business. It's a really good business, and like you say, it's a really simple business. That's what's the simple services are. They're the things that I haven't figured out how to make money on the things that are not simple services yet. Going to, but not yet.
Yeah.
So 7 years at Fine Turf. So how did you guys meet? That's what I want to know.
So we started separate companies. So he started Fine Turf like pretty much about 7 years ago.
Yep.
And then I started a separate company, and he was doing some mowing and chemical and hated mowing, and I was doing a lot of mowing and landscaping and didn't know anything about chemicals. And like I was out like backpacking yards, like trying to kill it. I didn't know what I was doing. And one day I just got real frustrated. It was like I hardly had any chemical applications. So I was like, I commented in a Facebook group. I said, does anyone want to like do all of our chemical applications and maybe just give us some mowing or something?
Mm-hmm.
And so he commented, and then we ended up meeting for breakfast like that Saturday, and found out that, we lived like a mile and a half away and serviced the same areas. So then for like the next 4 years, we referred work back and forth like crazy. Like I would send him chemical, he would send me mowing and landscaping, and our trucks were like, we were passing each other almost every day working. And then I had a partner at the time, and we kind of wanted to go in different directions with like growth. And so we ended that partnership, and then me and Branden merged at that point. So
That's really cool. So I can totally relate. My business partner, I was just mowing yards at my company at the time, which is today Chorby, Emerald Lawn and Landscaping, and I was just mowing. I didn't want to get the licenses and all of all that goes into being a proper turf applicator. But at the time I had hired a friend, and he was helping me grow, and he was like, EJ, I was subbing out all this FERT. I had 200 clients that I was subbing out. And he was like, you've got to bring this in-house. You got to bring this in-house. And so I said, look, you go get licensed and we will partner in a business, in a new business, in a FERT business. And we'll have a separate FERT business from the mowing business. And we did that for about a year before we became partners in what is today Chorby. But it was all around FERT and converting from mowing and getting into FERT and expanding into that. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
And we're still partners today.
You don't hear that too often.
No, you guys seem to have a pretty good relationship. Y'all been together how long now? A couple of years.
A couple of years together.
Yeah. How's it been? How give us some advice, give us your insights on the dynamics of a partnership.
I think that so like a partnership that's formed originally is probably easier at first, right? But like merging companies, like when you already have staff, you already have systems and different CRMs, and everything is completely different. Like it is hard. It is hard to do. But there's an adjustment period there, and it's hard. I mean, it's really, really difficult. And we were also kind of both of us right at that million, kind of right around that $1 million mark where like kind of starting to realize that like you need some systems and like, office staff and like you have to start working on your personal leadership. You're kind of at that point combining together. And I mean,
and growth.
Exactly.
And your growth, right?
I mean, it can be an absolute just like dumpster fire if you let it.
Yeah, the first 6 months were definitely rough. We both had to essentially, merge businesses, but then, cut out clients that maybe didn't fit our new model, reorganize things, took a little bit of hit on probably what the revenue could have been just to try to define like what our ideal client is. Let's go after just this. So that first 8 months was probably a little difficult, but it's getting better and better. I think the hardest part going forward would just be like, we merged. We have completely different skill sets. Like he's really good at sales, and I'm more good at operations, which works very well. But as we scale and grow, where do our new identities fit in that model? Because I mean, 3 or 4 years from now, he's not going to be selling, and I'm not going to be dealing with operations as much. So how do we both continue to like move up that ladder as a partnership? Will probably be the 3 to 5 year challenge.
You're thinking correctly that it does evolve and change, at least in my experience. What my business partner and I did and how we split and operated five years ago and 10 years ago is very different than today. So you're right. It ebb and flows. It evolves, and there's seasons for different seasons of your business and seasons of your partnership that are gonna change.
Mm-hmm.
So when did you guys find the Simple Growth Mastermind group?
January of what? So it's 24 now. It'll be January of 23. Yeah.
Yeah, we were at Mike Andy's conference and he was speaking.
Okay.
Growth Summit over in Washington,
Mm-hmm.
and we saw Dan speaking, and we just both went up to him and started talking to him. And that's how we heard about it.
Yeah. So we found out Simple Growth through Dan Rouse.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Great. And Dan was at a Mike Andy's
Landscape
conference.
Summit.
Yeah.
Landscape Summit conference.
Yep.
How'd you find the Landscape Summit conference?
You logged into YouTube and owned a landscape company in the last 3 years. You probably know about it.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
Yeah, he's all over the internet. But I mean, he was probably one of the first guys I followed. Him and like Jonathan Toshnik with like $1 million lawn care. Those are probably the two guys when I first started out that I really paid attention to. So, finding that Landscape Summit it's everywhere on ads.
You guys use Service Autopilot? What do you use?
We use Real Green.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is geared towards mostly fertilization weed control companies, which is obviously what I was before. It's a little difficult with landscaping and mowing.
It is. I've heard really good things about it for the FERT industry specifically, but yeah, I've never heard it. I've never heard good things about it necessarily for mowing and all of the additional things that go with lawn and landscapes.
It's not terrible for mowing. It's not great. It's definitely not terrible. There's worse ones. It's decent for mowing. I think it's unfair to say it's horrible for landscape because it's not even built for it. It's not meant for it.
Right.
It's like trying to use a Phillips head screw to screw in a flathead.
Right. On landscaping, are you guys big in landscaping? Is it one of your preferred services, or is it more of an ancillary service?
We do as little as possible.
Yeah.
So like the issue is like, everything we do is reoccurring, which was nice. Like, when I came in, like that FERT model is so reoccurring that from that point we kind of took the things that weren't and made them reoccurring. So like, even like our pruning, like we will not do a one-time pruning. If we sell you pruning, we're going to do it 3 times a year, every year, forever until you tell us to stop.
Right. It's a subscription type model.
Yeah, if we do your mulch this year, we're coming back next year to do it next year unless you tell us not to. So, but the issue arises is like a pruning cycle and a flower cycle, and then you have like this month-and-a-half gap of you really don't have any enhancement work. So, out of that need is when we do landscaping, just to kind of
okay. So you schedule it all up to the off season.
Yeah, in between enhancement cycles that are reoccurring.
So that's perfect. That's where you can also make it. You get the right quality clients in that, because you get the clients that are going to be flexible. If they're right, I would think so, because you're able to schedule. If you're able to schedule them just during that off cycle, I imagine they're pretty flexible, and those are usually your preferred clients.
Yeah, and that's like for the residential mowing. We're scaling FERT very fast, but like residential mowing, it's a very specific client. You got to live in a very specific area, very specific type of net worth. Like they want all the services that we offer. We don't do mow, blow, and goes per cut. It's a monthly fee every single month. We handle everything roughly, and those are the clients that have better landscaping jobs. So it's better to fill the gaps with those types of jobs.
Right.
The downside is our mowing grows painfully slow. Right, it's almost one of those things of like, we're just trying to grow like a crew a year or a truck a year.
That's your mowing, you say, but your FERT grows faster?
Fast.
Yeah.
Really? That's interesting.
With mowing, like we won't mow your yard unless we're doing, weed control for our program, fungicides, program, aeration and seeding. Like we won't just mow. So, and we keep it in such a tight area so that it can be profitable. That it's just there's not a huge market really for it because we have such a small area, and then we're so picky with it. So but with FERT we grow extremely fast. So the goal with mowing is just to add 1 crew per year, really.
Right.
So
that's awesome.
In the spring, it's just a race to capacity.
Yeah. Tell me about Fine Turf, the name, your brand. Was this something that you guys rebranded to and became? Was it one of y'all's brands prior?
Yeah, it was what I started with originally.
Okay.
I think the word Fine Turf it came from the golf course industry. Is that any like shorter cut grass, whether it's a fairway or tee box or green, you always refer to it as like fine turf.
Yeah,
that's kind of where it came from.
I really like the name and was thinking in those same terms. Like that's a really clever name. I'm surprised if you just started in the last few years. I'm surprised it wasn't taken.
Yeah. The domain name Fine Turf was for like a sod farm or something, I think. So that's why we're Fine Turf Lawn Care. Yeah, I was surprised as well.
Have you been able to buy that domain yet?
Not yet, no.
I would love to, because I hate telling people our email. Fine Turf Lawn Care. It'd be a lot easier if it was just Fine Turf.
Fine Turf, yeah. Love that. So, you guys found Dan Ralph's through the Landscape Summit, and you guys joined in January of 23. I know from spending a little bit of time with Simple Growth that a lot of their focus is about understanding your mission, vision, values, and getting in alignment within your org chart. Like, what kind of impact did that have for you guys in January? Not much, or did you guys already have that kind of figured out prior to joining?
That was about the most perfect timing, given like going through the merger.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Like, what are our mission and values? And one of the weird things that has happened in the last year and a half is like, me and Branden will think about things very differently, but we almost always get to the same conclusion and want the same thing without even talking to each other. So it's been cool to see how like we want the same things for the company and our people and ourselves, but getting it all on paper and getting everybody in line and getting a leadership team that's focused and wants the same things and working together. Like I mean, that's just, it was so crucial at that time for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, didn't have any of that before. I mean, we got it now. We have banners in our shop. We have stuff on the walls. We try to hire and fire by that. And, one of the few things I said recently, I think if you have your systems and processes in place and you have your core values, most questions that are asked on a day-to-day basis, if you revert back to either of those, you almost get your answer, right? Well, how should I do this? If it's not in the system and process and you look at your core values, the answer is usually pretty easy.
Mm-hmm. That's a really interesting perspective. I like that a lot.
Well said.
So would you mind sharing what is the mission of Fine Turf Lawn Care?
So our mission right now, it's a 3-year mission, is to be the best, most well-known residential lawn care company in South Charlotte by the end of 2020, with a revenue goal of $7.2 million at a 20%.
So what is the strategy behind being the most well-known in your area?
So, I mean, it's right now the strategy is, massive growth in fur, because it's, the simplest for us to scale, and we need a lot of trucks and a lot of yard signs out and a lot of people wearing Fine Turf uniforms to be a household name in a large market.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the easiest and quickest to grow. But I think outside of that, being the most well-known, also, like, you have to have a good reputation.
Yeah.
And how do you want to be viewed in the market yourself, right? So, like, you can get a ton of work really quick through marketing, and you can buy a bunch of trucks and put a bunch of signs up, but how you're viewed doing it at that pace is hard, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's what, we spent a lot of time really in the last 12 months kind of working on is, like, it's the little things to me, like our guys were wearing T-shirts, and now every employee wears a collared shirt. We have a uniform service to where our guys are in clean pants. We started a thing where we cook out every Thursday for all the guys because we want them to feel appreciated. And, if guys are taken care of, then, customers,
mm-hmm.
Our customers are going to like our guys. Our trucks are clean. It's, it's all those things that you talk about and you want to do and you do when you're at $1 million and $1.5 million and $2 million. It's like, it gets a lot harder to do it as you grow, because for me, I get so focused on, we need to hunt new fur customers this month, and like that's what we're going to do, and Branden gets so focused on, if we hit this margin, we can spend more on marketing, so it's like, how do you keep up that, like, who's getting food for Thursday, and
mm-hmm.
are these trucks clean, and this guy's got some stuff going on at home, is he okay, like, maybe we should talk to him next week. And, that's where it gets hard. And I think that's where we've focused a lot recently.
Yeah, I think Lindsay said, the bigger you grow, the harder it gets. You got to, the sooner you start, the easier it is. We even tried to do some, more neighborhood events, put a tent up, and not as much for like getting customers, but just people seeing our name out there and putting a face to the brand. Just trying to, again, networking with other business owners and, getting more reviews, and not just reviews of 5 stars, but actually trying to engage with our customers and like, why do they think we're good? Just trying to
mm-hmm.
keep that quality up there as we grow. I know that sometimes those two things don't always align, but that's kind of what our goal is.
One thing I see here from y'all is that y'all are very focused on your brand, and that's very wise, mm-hmm. to be very focused. I actually think that that's something that we have waited too long, and that's something we're focused on now. I can very much so mirror a lot of what you're saying. On the focus and building the brand. You mentioned putting up a tent, and not necessarily expecting to get XYZ clients out of it, but just get the brand out there. And I think we've been a little bit slow to action in that mindset. We've always still chased the client, and every dollar has gone to chasing the client rather than focusing some dollars, and maybe in some cases more dollars, to just getting the brand out there. And getting that, and that matters a lot. And I don't know exactly all the different social media y'all listen to, but some of the stuff I listen to, you think of Gary Vee, he's constantly talking about brand and the value of brand in the future, even more so than today. Like you said, never a better time to start than now.
Mm-hmm. It's hard to do it though.
It is. It's really hard to do it.
On, like, if I spend this in marketing, I get this, and then it's
no doubt.
More.
No doubt. it's a totally different game. A billboard is, I mean, it's the most classic thing in the world, but at the same time, how do you track that?
Yeah.
It's not like a door hanger or Google Ads.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially as we get more into systems and processes. You have KPIs and scoreboards. It's like, how do you judge that? If guys are measured on the scoreboard, but we're trying to brand, like, where does that come into play?
Exactly.
So it's tough.
Not to mention, Lindsay, you keep saying it's hard. I would say it's expensive. In some ways, it's easy for it to me. It's expensive. That's the hard part, is how expensive it is. But I know what you mean also on the hard part. You were talking earlier on the leadership side. And I'm reminded of one of my favorite quotes. In fact, on one of my very first iterations of my website, my Pet Waste Millionaire website, was a John Maxwell quote, everything rises and falls on leadership. And that's where you get exponential challenges. And if you don't build the foundation of a leadership team, it all falls on the two of you. And then the two of you can't focus on anything else. So building out that leadership team, as y'all were talking about a minute ago. I know I'm going back a few minutes, but building out that leadership team is extremely hard. It's probably the hardest thing, but it's also the thing that pays off the most, in my opinion, up to this point in my past experience.
I think we've been super blessed with that portion of it. That hasn't been a huge difficulty. Like, the guy that's over all of our spray, and then the other guy that's over all of our enhancement and landscaping, those were my first two employees. So they've been with me forever. And then, our operations manager, that guy's got more knowledge and experience. I mean, it's just unbelievable. We were actually friends and ended up buying his company, a year and a half ago.
Yep.
And then he ended up coming to work
That's
for
awesome.
us. We've been blessed with that. Those guys they're so good.
Yeah. And my sister is basically our office manager. She's essentially our CSR and does all the back end stuff. And obviously, that's a blessing in disguise as well, because you can't really trust anyone else more than that. And she does an awesome job. And now we're just finally getting to the point where hire our first sales guy. We're about to hire another CSR. Starting to build out the office. I think we're pretty lucky that we have a pretty good foundation to kind of build off of. And it's basically been one of our priorities almost every quarter for last year, is doing something leadership related, whether it's continuing the one-on-ones, having better weekly meetings, better quarterly meetings, all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely a focus of ours, and I imagine it'll stay that way for a while, forever.
Are you guys using P for P type pay structures, I imagine?
Yeah. Yep, we switched to that this year.
How's that working?
Oh, you realize you create a new problem with you have to sell more work because they get so much done so quick. Like, you realize, oh wow, we may run out of work. Where before that was never even a thought issue.
What was it before? What was your compensation structure like before?
Hourly.
Yeah.
Just hourly.
Yeah. And the spray techs would get a certain percentage bonus if they hit their goal. When I started originally, I did start with a P for P model. But then when it kind of went away a little bit, and then with the merger and trying to figure out how to do that with landscaping and mowing and having everything in place, it was a little difficult, but we figured it out. And I think guys love it. The managers, it puts a little stress on them to schedule work better and route more efficiently. But I think
that's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. But it's been great. I would definitely recommend it and wouldn't go back to it the other way.
Yeah, we're experimenting. We've had versions of P for P at Chorby for years. In fact, our FERT department, it's still very heavily hourly, but there's a lot of performance-based. There's revenue per hour bonuses. There's equipment-based, taking care of your equipment, weekly bonuses. I'm really out of practice on exactly but there's a lot of performance-based bonuses. There's a quarterly bonus that they get that is based on if they hit the quarterly amount. So that helps with people taking time off and with rain and the weather and that sort of thing. So it's based on a 12-week revenue, but it's still heavily based on hourly. I'm still constantly wanting to kind of tweak that. But then we also experiment with all sorts of others over at Scoop Soldiers. Scoop Soldiers has been slow. We've got a lot of hourly still. And our franchisees have started doing performance-based and or pay per yard. And they're all seeing huge results with it.
It's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's night and day.
So
It goes back to being able to pay your people like a livable wage.
Right.
It makes it a whole
Yeah, you
lot
mentioned
easier to pay guys more money. And
Yeah, you're giving them that ownership. One of our key principles, we've just rolled this out and updated. One of our core values is ownership mentality, and being future minded is the second. And that's what it does. That's what performance based pay does. Is it gives them an ownership mindset, and that's the foundation to being able to teach and train your future leadership.
Yeah, the hardest part was just the transparency of it, trying to get it to where everyone understands it, especially with multiple divisions.
Yeah.
That was a little bit of challenges there. I think we've worked most of them out, but I think the biggest issue most people have is just the transparency of it and how the guys know exactly what they're making.
Mm-hmm. So, what would you say is Fine Turf's biggest challenge ahead of you in 2020?
Probably my would be building out the office, because we just basically hired our first salesperson, hiring hopefully another CSR here in a few months. It's getting and the flow of communication between departments, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have essentially segregated departments out now. How does one department talk to another? All the processes in place for dealing with that. It's going to take a lot of time, but hopefully it saves the time on the back end. And leadership and management does get very uneasy if that's not in place, because they don't know who to go to. They don't know where this phone call should go, or who should deal with this email. Between the office and operations and building out that office staff is, my guess, our biggest challenge this year.
our CSR, we've got one coming in for an interview on Tuesday, and Branden's trying to poach her from the local DMV office. I mean, this girl though, like, she is on it. I mean, like, she's got to be the best CSR in America. Like, she runs the whole DMV office. She'll help you tell everyone else down the line what's going on. I mean, she's got this place running like a machine. And Branden was there getting a bunch of, like, year whatever. And he keeps going to her and keeps saying, "Hey, will you come work for us? Hey, come on."
That's awesome. That's awesome. So so you are actually you don't actually know her through an outside network. You're actually actively recruiting.
I got her email a couple weeks ago, and I emailed her and said, "Hey, if there's any chance of continuing this conversation, like, please give me a call directly." And so now she's coming in for an interview.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
I think our customer service and sales team at Chorby and Scoop Soldiers, I think we saw a huge improvement when we started poaching. We started looking for who is really great at what they do, and inviting them and selling them in on the organization and the vision that we have, and getting them trained up and rocking and rolling. Now they're crushing it. I think it's a really good approach.
Network of people. So we hired a sales guy, just sent out a message or text to a bunch of people I know and respect, and said, "Hey, this is what I'm looking for. If you have anybody in mind, just send them to me." And, I mean, he's doing phenomenal. He's doing awesome.
And that was from your personal network.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think with some of the stuff we've been learning from the mastermind group, some of it too, a lot of the hiring is like, personality based. And it's not so much can this person necessarily do the job, but like, if you, like, for this example, this like potential CSR, seeing her handle multiple situations at once, how she deals with customers, like the personality, you can kind of see like she's still enjoying it while she's doing this, and all the other little like X factors, I guess, we're realizing that's way more important in any position than just like, does this person know how to mow, or does this person know how to spray? It's like, they seem happy all the time, or they're greeting people, like just the little things that we're picking up on is how we're trying to start hiring, better and continue that in the process going forward.
It's culture.
Mm-hmm.
Or that culture fit, right? Because, we're talking about what's hard is like, we're not, as prevalent and ingrained and in contact and around, the new hires and, guys out, doing production, making production happen as much as we were a year and a half ago. So all these people that are getting hired, like, are they a culture fit? Do they align with our core values? Like, are they going to make someone, feel welcome when the next person comes in the door?
Yep. There's an exponentiality to it. You've got to grow and keep up with and grow faster than the pace of your business.
Well, I want to circle back around to the leadership aspect and the culture aspect, because I do think that is an incredibly important thing to focus on, regardless of how small or how large your organization is. Your leadership is going to be determining the success, and the feel and the experience of every team member that's there is also part of building your reputation, which I know is a huge focus for you guys into this year and beyond that. So you mentioned that there were like some monthly, weekly, quarterly meetings. What else are you guys doing to build a foundation to build up your leadership?
I mean, I think that's a lot of it. Is probably those having structured meetings, trying to focus on more as best we can higher level stuff, not like necessarily department stuff or about a particular customer. So we do every week. We do a meeting. We do a quarterly meetings. We do a 2-day annual meeting at the end of the year, and just I guess creating annual priorities, quarterly priorities. Mm-hmm. Redoing our scorecard a few times to try to get ways to hold people accountable for what their job entails, and a lot of that also is about making sure someone's job role is their job role. It's not, hey, you're supposed to do this, but then we're going to ask you to do 20 other things that impacts what you're supposed to be doing. So I think a lot of it comes from us of being more disciplined and not making everyone get sidetracked all the time, because we do have a lot of ideas and we do want to do a bunch of stuff. And so how do we manage that? How do we manage? It's probably a lot better to have 10 ideas. Who knows? They could all be great, but it's probably better to focus on 1 or 2 and let's get those implemented first, rather than throwing everything into the mix and it's chaos.
Hey, Branden, can I come work for you?
I also think
sure.
Like personal growth goals. Like we started doing that. We're like, we have our personal growth goals, and we focus on that. And then, we meet with certain people within our company, on a rhythm of going over their personal goals and personal growth and trying to push on that stuff outside of the business. And, I think for me and Branden, like our ability to grow personally is just as important to the business as, any metric we would do inside of the business. Yeah, something that like Dan Ralph said has always stuck with me about how your business will never outgrow you. Yep. So essentially, your business is going to grow to what you personally have grown at. So yeah, we focus a lot on personal growth with us and our leadership team. Like Lindsay was saying, if some guy wants to buy a house, it's not just, hey, I want to save up for a house. It's okay. How much you need for a down payment? What does that mean per week? Did you have a separate bank account? Do you want to auto draft that into there? Like just going down to the details of like trying to get people to think about more things outside of work and talk about personal stuff. And as an owner, if you want to grow your company, good Lord, have guys come in here, that are spray techs and say they want to buy a house in a year and a half, and you're going to make that happen. Like that guy's going to have to move up. You're going to have to make sure there's a place for him to move up, and the amount of growth that you're going to have to do to push your company to make some of these goals and dreams achievable. That's kind of what started driving us, I think. It was we want this revenue, right? Or we want this margin or this metric or hit this. But it's no, if this dude's going to buy a house, he's going to need to make this much money. And I'm not just going to give it to him. So we've got to grow this much and we've got to do it this fast for these guys' dreams to come true. And that drives you, that fires you up in the morning.
One of the best feelings is when you hear when your team members begin buying houses and buying real estate and building their life. It's not something that 10 years ago I would have expected to be excited about, but it's a great feeling. I know what you mean.
Yeah, that's
we getting interference all of a sudden.
We are not sure where that's coming from, but I'll tell you what. That right there is going to be the hook to this podcast. That is unique to me, because the perspective that you guys have with your growth and pushing yourselves is not totally dependent on you. It's about serving the people that are a part of the overall picture, the overall team. That's unique to me. And having that very clear perspective and mindset as you guys are pushing into accomplishing these goals, that's a big deal. And that goes a long way with building up your team.
I love getting to know business owners all over the country. We do need to set something up where we can, Lindsay, we can meet in person, and Branden, we can see each other again and maybe share a meal together or do something. Maybe come by, do a shop tour. That's another part of the tour, and tell you guys more about what we're doing with the T-Pig tour. But yes, and for sure, if you haven't already, follow and subscribe on our YouTube channel, the Pet Waste Millionaire. We're up and coming. That's what I'd like to say. Yeah, we're up and coming. We got a lot of stuff, and with this tour, we just got back from Tampa. Ben got back. Well, both of us got back yesterday from the first leg of the tour in Tampa, and it's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward. We're taking a 43-foot RV bus from Dallas to Florida up the East Coast to DC. And then cutting across, and we'll end up all the way in Seattle before we circle back to Texas by the end of the year. So it's an almost full year tour with a big tour bus, going sit market by market all over across the South and the West where our Scoop Soldiers franchisees are. And the goal is to get awareness for the industry, but to build brand, as we talked about in this podcast, and really to talk about the American dream and the things we talked about here today, and how the American dream is so much so alive today.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'll definitely follow that.
Please do.
Yeah,
I'd appreciate it.
It's I'm at the point now where yesterday I was sitting at a restaurant and I'm talking about what we're doing in the Pet Waste Millionaire socials, to the point where I had someone next to me that was trying to go and search for Pet Waste Millionaire YouTube, but she was having a hard time spelling millionaire, and so I just grabbed the phone out of her hand and went to it and subscribed to the YouTube channel. Anyways, I believe strongly in our mission in what we're doing here, so please go take a look. Would love for you guys to follow along and engage with us. But yeah, again, thank you so much for being present with us and talking with us today. I'll follow back up with you guys and let you know when abouts we're going to be in y'all's area, so we can try to coordinate something for us to get together, and then we'll go from there.
Absolutely. Look forward to it, guys. See y'all in maybe a few weeks, a few months. Thank y'all.
Thank you guys. Y'all take care.
Bye.